he said this girl, his wife, into the supermarket, she go to shop. And he go to one.
What's that? Now you see me? No, you don't.
And he began to negotiate because the man hasn't had a good and a decent workout and he hasn't changed his oil in a long time. So he go to the substitute and he asked him the substitute, how much is it for and she said,
Yeah. And do the walk up. Do the walk up. Have it.
so he said, no, he asked about honey, how much is it for You understand? You understand? He said he don't have she said $40. He said he don't have all that.
You still there?
Finally he said, how much is it for him to just She said $10. He said he don't have all that. So she asked him, my dear friend, how much you have? He said, he only have $3. She told him, so go do your business. You cannot get nothing good for $3. So go and do your business. So he put his tail between the leg and he go back and meet the wife. And as soon as he met the wife was coming out and he go to the store. Wife was coming out. So he picked up the wife bag and he had 4 bags in his hand. She wife chewing some bubble gum. She in front, he behind carrying those heavy bags. And she wife going clacks, and all her colors falling down on her robe. And as they're walking on the road, look, the substitute, oh God. You see the substitute? He do like he don't see the substitute. The substitute see him and call him and say, hey! Hey, how you doing? Yeah, I'm good. He said, you remember me? He said, yes, the wife asked, who's that? He said, there's a friend he met there. And he could call him, yeah, yes, it's me, you remember me? He said, yes. So that's who you have there, that's your wife? He said, remember when I tell you I get nothing good for $3.
Okay, thanks for joining me. I'm Franklyn Moses. And you've been a good audience, so we'll see you. Peace.
Hi, Mr. Franklyn Moses is with me tonight. Mr. Franklyn Moses, y'all, I got to give you a little intro.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Listen, we get that.
Welcome, Mr. Moses. The
Yeah,
legendary.
Good evening, Dr. Triphi. It is my absolute delight and pleasure to be with
Yes.
you and to be with your audience. And
Yes.
you give me the opportunity to be open and honest about subjects and topics that has become taboo to many. Let me just let people know that I give you the red carpet treatment invitation to ask any questions, to participate, to take your pen and paper and learn from experience her ability to pull out and ask the questions that are absolutely timely and relevant. And me, hopefully, God will give me the grace to answer, be honest.
For sure. For
Something can be
sure.
scary. Yeah.
For sure. I know. Well, let me give you all a little bit of an introduction. Those people who are not familiar with Mr. Moses, you have to be out of Dominica. You have to be not Dominican because every Dominican knows Mr. Moses for his wit, his warmth, and his unforgettable radio presence. He's made us laugh for years, and I started with a little clip of some of the ways this man has kept us entertained. But behind the microphone and the humor was a man who was fighting silent battles we couldn't see. And in honor of Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, we're sitting down for a raw, a real, and I hope redemptive conversation about his journey into what some might call the abyss of mental health challenges. But more importantly, his climb back to balance and stabilization. Mr. Moses. That was a bit of a
Yes.
mouthful. What are your thoughts
My,
as I read this?
I'm
What are your
accustomed.
thoughts?
I'm accustomed of these. I'm beginning to once again become comfortable with them before my traumatic experience. Hearing my name or being seen was a scary thing after having
Mm.
been in the spotlight for most of my adult life, well, even teenage life too. When
When did that
sometimes I get a
spotlight
little
begin to shine on you? When did that spotlight begin to shine on you? How old were you?
uh, um, from school, from secondary school. secondary school, between 1978 to 1983. Yeah. I was exhibiting, I was told, a lot of comedic experience and spontaneity, which of course I didn't know at the time. And from there, my principal, my late principal, Mr. Cuthbert Elwin, gave me a challenge and said that you're talking too much nonsense in class and making everybody laugh. You are going to be emceeing the show. I'm coming next week. And I was like, no way. There's no way that's going to happen. No, like an enjoy because I like the liberty and of being in the classroom setting, which is safe because I'm familiar with everybody, but I ain't going on stage and talk to thousands of people. There's no way it's going to happen. Mm-mm. And then more and more, I got to the show eventually. I lost about 10 pounds of the fear of wanting to go on stage. I began to develop sweat glands I didn't know existed in my body and fear. And I went to the show, and there was my friend Vincent Filbert, who was emceeing the show at the time. Very eloquent fellow, bright, brilliant. But he was talking to hypothetical over the tip of people's minds. And I knew what to do, but I was scared of doing it. And I heard him say this one line: "It has been decided by consensus." And I'm like, what is that nonsense? What am I saying? I said, let me give me that mic. And I said something like, I think I said something like, yeah, man, but this one them I'm happy to say there's no YouTube, there's no Facebook, there's no
Right.
mobile phones, anything like that, you know. And then I would the most you would watch is SBO after dark, really.
Mhm.
And then I said something, yeah, and you were happy with that, you know,
Right.
and that was perfect. And I said something like, "Boy, look at Mr. Footboy, Mr. Foot White, but your father was working in a bakery man with flour." And these people started laughing. It was a very incoherent statement, but it came from a place of certainty, a place
Mhm.
of laughter. And people were laughing hysterically. And I was like, what? For the first time in my life, I was asking myself, that's for me? Did I evoke that type of emotion? Not in those
Mhm.
words then. And I kind of liked it. Not
Yes.
necessarily to inflate my ego, because I wasn't aware of those things, but it's like, well, I think I'm serving a purpose here, and I
Mhm.
like it, you know. And then it mushroomed and snowballed from there until I ended up being the first in the world to do the World Korean Music Festival 27 years ago. People like Ziggy Marley and every great Jamaican um, star, from Culture to Yellow Man to Third World
Right.
to Steel Pulse to Maxine Nightingale to the Platters, Ziggy
Wow.
Marley I mentioned, from Toronto to Brooklyn in New York to London to every Caribbean island except Ghana.
Mhm.
But I performed with the Ghanese as being part of the kings and queens of Caribbean comedy around with Todd. And I've lost many comedian friends. Um, Trevor Eastman from Barbados,
Mhm.
uh, um, Agitation from Trinidad, uh, Lucien Small, Mr. Salouche from St. Vincent. And you know what I discovered, Dr. Triphi? We all have massive, deep, scary personalities. We all dove into the excellency of comedy, that river of creativity, hiding behind our own weaknesses, our own
Oh,
fears.
wow. That's a
Yeah.
powerful line. Hiding behind. So we're hiding. You're suggesting that many of us we hide our true, full, big selves. What do
Yeah,
you think that
I've repeated that question, I didn't hear it.
you suggest that many of us are hiding behind our big, true selves?
Yeah,
What do you
because
think
for
that's
me,
about? Hmm.
because as comedians, our pain, the only way we mirror our pain and reflect our pain or the probabilities and possibilities of our own insecurities or bad experiences. And we're best able to articulate it because maybe based on our personality. But we are laughing, but behind that laughter is that silent scream for either
Yeah.
acceptance. It's there for somebody hear my pain. Even if I'm laughing, somebody hear my
Right.
pain. And then we're able to articulate the stories like the
Hmm.
story I you just played. I can't remember even saying that, but I remember exactly where I was and what I was feeling. I was in St. Croix, St. Croix and St. Martin, but I think this one was recorded in St. Martin, and I remember the purpose. But today, when I redo it, I'm planning another comedy show in Dominica. I'm better able to frame it. I could give
Mm,
that joke. And thank you very much for discovering that, because it's to do with understanding relations and how impactful and relevant your mate can be. Um,
mhm,
in terms of your public persona and your private realization. And so that is one of the secrets. In fact, the guy from St. Vincent, he was of all of his confidence, he was insecure. The one from Trinidad, Tommy's I don't know, Tommy was tripping. He would trip and would recognize, he would go into a new zone by himself and talk to himself very loudly, and he would like want to fight with himself, caution himself, and he's not even aware that he's something. So Tommy, you shouldn't do that. And Tommy, when you go on stage, listen, I will copy you, I will bite you, I'll
mm,
fight you. Yeah, man, and he would, and I would tap into his energy, and was like, that was scary. And then there's
mhm,
Mark Finkel from Barbados, and my Mark is like, every time you touch him, you go and wash his hands. Don't touch his
mhm,
hands. Don't touch his hands.
mm,
And then there was the guy who brought me to rehab in 2017. His name is Errol Fabian. And Errol is, after 30 years of battling drugs, he recovered, and he was like, um, just like Frankie, I lost my wife, and he wouldn't trust anybody, including himself,
mhm,
until one day he gave me the great honor of being with him while I was in rehab to help him even choose. And I suspect that he was, with all his greatness, he was betrayed by his significant other. Sometimes he loved his children. Sometimes we lavish a lot of our love and our emotional energy in quest to seek and be attached to genuine love. And that's
mhm,
because we will talk about some of the things that they trigger, some of the experiences that we've had from me in growing up, and they helped shape
mhm.
our reality, which was our fake reality.
Got you. So,
Mm.
so I hear you saying that for you, and you mentioned other comedians, the humor can be a way to
Facade.
cope, a facade, a way to cope with the pain. When did you become really aware of that?
Boy, it took a long time because you get, well, let me talk in the first person singular. I got charged and recharged, made and remade. The whole landscape of my thought process was able to adapt seamlessly to people's experience. So you'd say something either flippantly or deliberately, and I would pick up almost instantaneous. Look, this is real. You experience that, and if I identify with it, I take it
Mm,
silently. So I'm like a
mm,
sponge. Wherever I go, my ears are attentive, whether deliberately or unconsciously. I hear a statement, hear an experience, see something, like a scenario just playing out in my mind, in my face, before my eyes, and I would adapt that and say, I identify with that. Okay, that's new. No, that's fresh. You too? Wow, but you don't look like it. But you're so cute to be saying that. Oh, well, this man is strong. Yeah, and I just put them in, I absorb it, and something I learned in sociology. I could become three things. I could become an observer in your
right?
story, I could become a participant in your story,
Mm-hmm.
and I could be your silent therapist. So if I were you, what would I have done? And
Mm-hmm.
that so there's a lot of mental gymnastics going on in my little head, and I'm thinking of thoughts. I have answers. I have philosophical deductions, psychological analysis. My words become light to me, and experiences become a play, like a Shakespeare play for me. I hear what the pros, the cons, what could have said, what would have said, and then I'm thinking to myself, everybody's experiencing those things.
Mm-hmm. You're
I'm thinking
thinking
what
this is
everybody,
typical. Mm-hmm.
this intuitiveness, everybody's supposed to know about. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so why should I say it? Okay, maybe it's my right. Maybe, maybe if I'm suffering so badly, mm, I, maybe I deserve it. Maybe that's part of it. Of the whole
Mm-hmm.
going of process, which it really, the upon reflection really is, or really was. It was terrible. Sometimes I don't want to go back there.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, I was raised by by my parents. I was adopted, so to speak. And
Mm-hmm.
I learned later on that my mom dumped me, DUMPED, me,
Mm-hmm.
to my father's grandmother and aunt. So I was not their child, immediate child.
How old were you when you found that out?
Consciously, maybe 7, 6, 7.
Consciously, you
Because
say.
yeah, because we
Did
didn't
you
grow up.
feel it? You sense
The
it
first,
unconsciously
yes,
before
yeah,
that?
because the first people you see, I thought my aunt was my biological mom. I thought everybody else were, because you're not aware that you came umbilically from a mom and a dad, or you don't know that,
Right.
but then they come visit you and you just say, well, here's your mom and here's your dad, and
Mm.
you're like, okay. Then you sort of think, well, children are born and based put somewhere else. So I did,
Mm.
like, I thought all children were born and put with somebody else.
Yeah.
But
So there
not
was so
knowing
the so this is the reality of the child, but nobody was necessarily explaining to you
that.
the
But I would
reality.
hear though. I was very, very alert. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
intuitive. I could pick up and make connections. I could
Right.
connect dots. I could be curious. I was very, very,
Mm-hmm.
very curious. But why? Well, I asked myself. And there was one day, and I still haven't gotten closer to that question. Mommy came, like a mama came, and I remember that conversation. It was to do with my granny and my mom having a little argument. I'm little, very little. I'm about 5, 6, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
in tune to that conversation because now I'm beginning to say, well, I don't know who to love more because my granny, who I knew from birth, of my mom, who instinctively knows my mom, and I
Mm-hmm.
said something to them like in defense of my mom, and my mom had a cup of water, and my mom dashed it in my face,
Mm.
and I was like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
hmm,
What did the little
hmm,
boy think about that?
what did I do to deserve that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I'm trying to love you.
Confusion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Shock,
Yeah.
maybe?
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So my deduction was, why then, if she doesn't know, when I grew up, I was like the one commanded to clean the rugs, to clean the house, to scrub the kitchen, to scrub the doors, to at
Mm-hmm.
night those days to walk with my aunt to go and throw the the toilet pail after that
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
night, after the movie house was closed. So
Mm-hmm.
why not my cousin? They had another child there, another boy, but it was
Mm-hmm.
me, you know. And upon reflection, I know it was deliberate, but it was good for me, though,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Yeah,
So
and
something
some
I
other
asked.
thing,
Go ahead.
but no, no, no. Okay, so
I was gonna.
go ahead. No, go ahead. No, no.
I was gonna say, um, what decision does the child make about himself when all of this is happening?
nothing, nothing, nothing. No, nothing. When I'm happy for the season. I was alive. I am alive. I'm a child of the
Mm-hmm.
'60s. Um, I'll be 61 in December.
Mm-hmm.
So I was born in December '64.
Mm-hmm.
But so my whole mental landscape is loaded with experiences of. So I know before cell phone, I know before phones, I know
Right.
telegram, I know postcard. Now I know email, I know FaceTime, I
Mm-hmm.
know um, um, what we are now. In those days,
Mm-hmm.
you had to you had to wait on a Sunday night to make a call to London, and that
Right.
cost $12 a minute.
Telegram.
No, no. All I need now is, look, my mobile phone. I'm speaking to you now. That was given to me by one of the service providers, and I have it now for a year
Mm-hmm.
because I lose them like drinking water.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get another one you know. So
Yeah.
I knew understand the music. One of the things when I was growing up, my mom had a little Panasonic radio, and she would leave me in the house and go to work or whatever, and I would so that helped. And I was not fearful; I was fearless because I had a radio that was a
Mm.
company. And I know after I had my, what I've talked to you about, after I had my episode of the psychiatrist for the very last time, sometime last year to this year, there was a whole total recalibration of my psyche, of my brain, of the recesses of my memory. And I was able to ask my dad before he passed. And I told him exactly when I was conceived and when I was born and how I came about. I asked him, so tell me the story. And I told him, I gave him a prelude, and he said, well, you know that. In fact, come on, Safsa.
Right, right,
And
right, right, right.
yeah. So
Well, how
that
did you know that? How do you think you knew that?
so um, even before, during, and after medication, I would stay. There's a whole set of questions I couldn't answer for myself. Like, how did I get here?
Mm-hmm.
Am I going to come out of this? Am I going to survive? Um,
Mm-hmm.
what will like what are people thinking about me? Not just anybody, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
People, folks, my folks, as far as Alaska knew about my addiction and my tragedy. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so so I'm thinking my thought process is like making connecting the dots.
Mm-hmm.
So I am lying down in the bed and I have time. Oh yes, I have time. Other than that, maybe I was busy trying to drown out my own reality, trying to speak to myself. So now I have time. I'm lying on the hospital bed.
Right.
But I can't go anywhere. My freedom is taken away from me. I'm on the medication. I cannot scream.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot shout because I'm under total authoritarian control and rule. And so I'm thinking, and um, I'm resigning to
Processing.
the processing. Processing.
Mm-hmm.
That's the word. So all kinds of scenarios emerge, all of them, and I'm beginning to
Mm-hmm.
go back into my childhood, and I recognize some of the triggers that I speak, and when I allow certain people to enter into that atmosphere of mine,
Mm-hmm.
because it can be troubling, it can be frightening, it can
For
be
sure.
threatening,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and
Mm-hmm.
these days I try to process by peace and
Mm-hmm.
quiet and tranquility, because um, part of the bipolar that was. So I was diagnosed with bipolar after
Well,
many
how
years.
old were you? How old were you when you first got the
Um.
diagnosis?
I was at this the oh no, okay, I remember now. So I was in I'm just looking at my chart here, so 1 second. I was
Okay.
in Antigua, and I remember going. Sorry, 1 second. Let me
That's
just get
okay.
this.
That's
I
okay.
was in Antigua. I was
Mm-hmm.
in Antigua many years ago. I was working on the radio, and okay. So now you ask a question. Okay, my man, let me come back to Dominica. So so 3 hurricanes had hit Dominica. One of them, three of them, I think, Marilyn, Hugo, and another one. And during that time, I was. Let me go back. You know me making me go
So
back and back
three
and back.
hurricanes had hit
So
Dominica,
let me
Hugo,
something here.
Marilyn.
Yeah. So now, right. So now I'm going. As I'm saying that, I'm going even back so I could connect the dots. So 30 years ago, I was I had a deep connection experience and encounter
Okay,
spiritually
I lost you there for a second. You said 30 years ago you
encounter
had an experience.
Christ, and even in the midst of my highest celestial divine experiences. Yes, a divine encounter. Do you hear me?
You
I
said
don't
you
know.
had a divine encounter.
You there still?
I'm here.
Because I'm not seeing you. Yes, yes. Okay, good. With Jesus. And
Mm-hmm.
after I left my important meetings, I went to the guys and we were smoking, and he passed me a joint, and in that joint he had laced it with cocaine.
Mm.
So I had this weird experience, innocently. Um, that uh, that platform and that experience, I spent a lot of money at the time, um, trying to get back that experience, that high, which you
Understood.
will never ever get.
Understood. Understood. So what you're talking
And
about is that initial high is so high that many people will try to recreate.
that's it. That's it. That is the pinnacle of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the pinnacle of to be addicted to that moment, to
Mm-hmm.
that experience, to
Mm-hmm.
that ecstasy, to that moment and window of bliss. You
Mm-hmm.
never, ever get it
Right.
again.
Right.
Never. Therefore, because
But you
that's the
might spend
euphoric
many
moment, you
years
chase that.
chasing it. Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's it. That's it. You lose, and you do anything to get back there. Um,
Right.
and it happens to everybody. I had a good friend come back to me. I had a good friend named Hugh Scale, working on BBC. He's a
Mm-hmm.
Jamaican, and I mean, Hugh is the most brilliant mind in the Caribbean. He worked at BBC. I was able to ask questions, create
Mm-hmm.
analysis, and he came to Dominica and started talking to me. I didn't know what I know now, and he was like, "Take me to this certain place." I'm saying to myself, "If I take you to that certain place is a place of the den where we have," and I didn't understand what he was going through at the time. And eventually he did it, whatever it is, and then I found out, and he got back to Jamaica and got killed. I lost a dear friend for that.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to me, so after this happened, spent that time. Um, the doctor in Antigua diagnosed me then, but the way he diagnosed me was like, okay, I'm going to put you on lorazepam, lorazepam Ativan.
Mm-hmm.
So he put me on Ativan, and I took that. He put, one day you take one, Tuesday you take the other one, Wednesday at lunchtime you take one, or you take the first one two, one and a half, one, half, 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 half.
Mm-hmm.
Then then following that, when I came to Dominica, I had another bout, an episode again of addiction. This time I went to my doctor. That time his name is Davinja Sharma, Indian doctor, and he says, "Okay." And the best words I ever heard in my life was, I said to the doc, "I think I'm self, but I did not say, I didn't use the word self
Self-medicating.
medication. Yes." And then he said to me, "Frankly, I know people like you in entertainment and so forth. I know exactly what you're going through." And I heard the best words in my life. But then do not worry. You will be all right. I will take care of you.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave me some things, and I'll never forget, because I was really into it. I really desired that type of safety ground, that type of healing, that type of emotional stability and mental clarity. He said, "I'm gonna put you." So I said, "Doc, what's that?" He said that this is called an anafranil, and this one is
Mm-hmm.
called frisium with lobazam. And I went and I studied that. Later on, people said I once was given Prozac, and that was that season, that's during the three hurricanes that hit, storms that hit Dominica. And then I got okay. Turn around that later on, same Dr. Sharma went through his own terminal difficulty was coming through, um, for some
So
solace
you
and
say
healing.
so let me see if I can rephrase some of what you just said, Franklin. So you in
Hmm.
Antigua, you're first diagnosed with bipolar disorder,
Hmm.
and you
Hmm.
you might have been perhaps maybe agitated. Do you remember some of the symptoms you were experiencing at that time that they gave you Ativan in Antigua?
Um, a lot of, but I was away from home, so I indulged in a lot of alcohol, and yeah, because
So you were away from home and you indulged in a lot of alcohol.
I was away from home. Yes,
What
that
does
is
that
all part of the
actually?
Antigua
Can you make the
society.
connection? Can you make the connection being away from home and the alcohol?
Yeah, being away from the immediate judgment you would have in your neck of the woods when everybody knew you. Here,
Mm,
while I was a celebrity, being a celebrity in another country and excelling at what I did, particularly in the forum and the platform that I was on the media, having an
mm,
impact and influence on another country, another nation psyche, with that opportunity given to speak into people's lives and to entertain, doing what I do best, they were like very proud and very happy. And the way they could show that was either coming to bring and they bought you a bottle of alcohol,
mm.
or they walk inviting you to a party, or they were
Yes.
happy to be associated with, oh, this is our own, this is our friend, this is our brother, this is our Dominican. So you get invited to parties and you for the
Yeah.
recommendation of others, you
So the alcohol
society
became a symbol of. So the alcohol became a symbol
eh,
to you of.
s- status.
Mhm,
But for me, it was self-medicating also, because
mhm,
it's overwhelming. You have access to money, access to
mhm.
friends in high places, influential people, and
Right.
you
Connection.
getting a lot
Connection.
of and money, connection,
Mhm,
money,
mhm,
status, and
mhm.
affiliation to officials, high-level influential officials,
So
and you
perhaps
have the
valued,
financial capacity,
valued, feeling valued and
valued,
appreciated. Mhm,
appreciated and respected too. And
mhm,
respected, be called upon that I was the third, fourth most popular person in Antigua at a certain time because I was able to take the government of Antigua to court because I supported
mhm.
the other government, and because of who I was, I became the manager of the radio station. They had the opposition when they became government did something I think was unlawful. I took them to court and won twice. In fact, they
Mhm.
dismissed the High Court Judge Richard Olivetti, who had sided with me. So it was very impactful in another country,
Right.
and so
So
that was
so
the spin
I
off.
want to say something to the people listening. So often we think that addiction is just about the habit or they just want to get high. But usually there are other reasons attached. There are functions that the substance is performing. So it might be I'm getting attention, I'm able to escape, I'm changing my sensory experience, and maybe sometimes for things, right? So you could do it for power, attention, all of those. Um, those are other reasons that we don't often think about that keep the behavior going. So I appreciate you pulling it out so nicely, like identifying it for yourself, because that is insight. Because once I can identify
Hmm.
that, then I can find other things to play the same role, and I can release what doesn't serve me.
Yeah, yeah, and they for me, um, maybe you'll get a chance to explain to people what bipolar really is. The
Hmm.
self-medication sometimes was to stop the chatter that's going on
Yes,
in my head, the
yes.
constant chatter. My brain is never taking a vacation. I'm
Hmm.
thinking of how to write a commercial. So I would hear, compounded by that, I would hear a song. So okay, I'm going to use that song in any commercial that I get. Okay, what if I get it? Of whom am I going to get it from? Are they going to pay me? If they're going to pay me, do I be sympathetic? Do I give them a discount? They pay me on time. The habit
Right.
of people not wanting to pay me. Is it because they don't, from just one
Yes.
theme? All of this spiraling thoughts happen
Yes.
simultaneously. I'm looking, okay, and here's a troubling, thought of people, and I only found that many people, I mean, sometimes the most beautiful people in the world do it, and I
Hmm.
only now realizing that I'm okay too. Man, so I meet
Yes.
this beautiful woman, and she said, "It's beautiful, immaculate, beyond measure." And she comes and says, "I wonder if I'm okay. I wonder if they see the little thing. I wonder if my hair is okay. I wonder if they know that I feel that I mashed up my plate this morning. I wonder if they know that I don't like myself. I wonder if they know." I mean, like, girl, you're
Yes.
flawless. What's tripping is that
Yes. So what do you
until
call
it
this?
happened to
This is
me.
called racing thoughts. So these are racing thoughts. This is
Racing.
so a lot of people will say
Yes.
my thoughts are racing. Yeah. And
Yes.
their
Yeah.
thoughts are racing. Your thoughts are so, it's like your brain is populating the thoughts so fast. You're
Hmm.
speaking fast. So your speech becomes pressured
Yeah.
because you're trying to
Hmm.
get all of it out, and people around you might say
Hmm.
you're talking too much or you're talking too fast, but it's like the thoughts are just coming and coming and coming and coming. So that's a
Yeah.
big
And people,
asset.
yeah, and people don't know. So those who don't know will now hurt you, not knowing it, by saying you just show off.
Exactly,
You like to show
exactly.
off.
I
You
just felt
can
the
you
pain
can
of
that
that
can
as you said that. I just felt the pain of
yes,
that as you
that's
said that.
offensive. That's
Yeah, yeah,
offensive. That's offensive to
yeah,
me because you didn't say that when I was on stage, and you were
yeah,
happy when I was there showing off. So now I'm
mm,
still being myself. You
yeah,
know, you're hurting me.
yeah,
So then I think I would get on stage with you. People would hire me before I would be.
mm,
Otherwise, and Franklyn was really call Franklyn was when they call you and before I would just be there, did not get paid,
say that
and
part again.
trigger before when I was. So they would make decisions like that behind your back with the assumption that you love what you do so much that you will be there at their command,
Mm,
hurting yourself trying to please others.
right,
But
hurting
for you,
yourself to
that acceptance
others.
feels safe,
Yes,
even if it's
yeah,
destructive to you financially and otherwise.
yes.
You with me?
So, so
Um,
bipolar disorder, let's talk a little bit about that, right? So the bipolarity
mm,
is a two-headed, it's like two, you have one pole, but you have the high end of the pole where you have racing thoughts, you have manic ideation, your energy is high, you might keep going for days. Yeah. There is
mm,
an aspect
mm.
where um, we call it hypersexuality, where there's a lot of energy.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah. That
Yeah.
statement there's an understatement.
Yes. Yes. That's a
Yeah,
clear marker right
and
there.
yeah,
Yeah. But then
absolutely.
you have the other end
'Cause
of the
right
pole.
now
Did you ever crash? Did
yes,
you
go
ever
ahead.
crash though and go down to
Well,
the
I'm
abyss?
coming to great question because for all these years, you called me to do a show. Mentally, I prepare. Maybe that's one of the aspects that will allow me to be exceptional at my craft. Is that if I'm
Hmm.
going to do a show, you tell me in advance, running through my head. So the bipolar worked there for me brilliantly. So all the time, my brains would be occupied, all of my synapses would be firing, got be
Hmm.
occupied with what I'm going to do, what I'm going to say, what I'm going to say, who's going to be there. I have enough of joke to tailor it depending on the audience. If this one person work, I have others to work. I'm working. I go to
Right.
bed, I get ready, I go to the bathroom, I'm preparing. What about it? I get on stage. Here is the problem. I've expended all of this creative energy. I'm on a high. I'm like third world. I'm 96
Right.
degrees in the shade.
Right. In the
And then
shade.
I start
96.
shows.
Mhm.
Yes. Now show is over now.
Right.
I crash.
And you're alone.
Alone,
Adrenaline is
lonely,
down.
busted, and disgusted.
Hmm.
I walk home by myself,
Hmm.
still thinking, did I do okay? By myself.
Right.
Did I okay?
Right.
I could have given that joke better. Oh no, I forgot that joke. And what they really happened to me, they didn't know. It was painful. I was really down. Because
Right.
sometimes you have to do it with or without an episode of bipolar. So then when
Hmm.
I get home from home, I go and walk. And I'm down. I don't feel very well. I don't want to do it. I want to go home. I'm screaming, somebody help me. Then I put on that face at request because I have to say 1 million hello, how you doing? Even if I know
Right.
you or you don't know
Right.
me, because you know me, you don't
Right.
say, hi Franklin, hello Franklin, hi Franklin. Hey, how you doing? I say, shit, who's that? I don't know that one name. But no, Franklin, you have
Right.
to be nice to this person. You have to be good to
But
the
you got
person.
to
Also.
keep
But
the
yeah,
face.
man, everything's good. Yeah,
The
man.
face. Yeah.
Got to keep the face. This is
Hmm.
going is taking a lot of creative energy. Then I
Hmm.
go home and I'm double exhausted. I'm disappointed, busted, I'm unhappy, and nobody puts in. So when I finish entertain the world, who entertains me?
That's right. And so
That's
there you have the ruminative. So rumination is where now you're pulling apart everything you did. You're dissecting everything you did, where you could have done better.
it.
You know, I'm,
Hmm.
you're getting down on yourself. Yeah, the sadness, the loneliness, isolation. feeling separate from other people,
Yeah.
feeling different, not so good, negative thoughts, pessimistic thinking, and you can go down now into the hole. You talk about alcohol and
Hmm.
other drugs now being used to medicate, to self medicate.
Hmm. Yeah, the alcohol for sure.
Hmm.
So that every one of them, cigarettes,
Hmm.
alcohol, all kinds of alcohol, all kinds of marijuana. And they never used to shake me because I don't know why God made me with a deep, great, humongous ocean capacity to
Hmm.
absorb and tolerate. So while you take 100, 110, while you take 10 bottles, it will take me 105 bottles to get me shaky. It will take
Mm.
me, it will take you the backyard, um, 10 trees to get you high. It will take me a forest to get me really, really high. And so
Yeah.
you progress, as I said, from gateway to alleyway to hallway to highway drugs. We should write that
Yeah.
down.
Yes. Yes.
I can't forget what I just said. So you have
Yeah.
gateway, you have hallway, you have alleyway, you have hallway,
Before
you
you
have
get to highway.
whatever way. And when you
So,
get to
Frank,
highway,
when did
and then
that
that,
begin to change? When did that begin to change to where you were able to start attaining some stability?
well, prior to this, I became the manager for radio station in Antigua, the most popular radio station. And then after 7 years, which is what was always part of my head, but I did it inadvertently without any official initial training. I planned. It's not that I just sit down and say I'm going to plan. It's for me just the right thing to do. I plan. I write. I think I was born
Hmm.
writing. So I'm saying, okay, go to Antigua within the next 7 years. I want to be in a position in a place for God to have 7 years from being asked to come and volunteer at the radio station, not being paid for 3 months, 90 days, move up to become news director, program director, news director, program director, marketing director, managing director. And in the midst of all my praying and my faith and exercising and bombarding heaven, I'm in a safe spiritual space. And it's always when I get to the pinnacle of knowing and recognizing who I am, that's when the greatest challenges arise. And then I now begin to understand that when I'm about to elevate to a position of greater awareness, consciousness, and effectiveness, that's when I'm faced with making that jump between the chasm between who I am, where I am, and where I'm supposed to go and who I'm supposed to be for my entire metamorphosis. And so when I got there, um, I started to unravel after having attained everything. I said there was nothing else to do.
Mm.
I began to flip, not knowing I was flipping. So
Mhm.
I was sent to London. Went, I was sent there, free of charge. Went to London, said by some relatives. I get there on audition, get there, spend 6 months for the first time with myself in a new environment. I live in Tottenham, I live in Edmonton, go to Hackney, go to all these places. On my own, still adventurous, but I'm amazed. How do you know these things? Because once you show it to me once, I know, but it's much bigger than Dominica, much bigger than Antigua. I get
Mhm.
everywhere. I get lost in London. I get lost in Bradford, Stratford, Blackheath, Leighton, all over the place. I get back, and I have the English bug. I'm flipping, or I flip mentally. I'm still
What does that
building on
mean?
my black
What do you mean by that?
flip,
What do you mean you flipped
as in
mentally?
I am wearing. I was told, but for me it was normal. Like I was doing, like I was in England. I'm fully dressed in the hot sun,
Mm-hmm.
four-piece suit, one
Mm-hmm.
bag in one hand, another bag in the other hand, one on my back. I'm living in a place called Bath State, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
dressing. I'm going to work. Everybody in London asks me, "Are you a solicitor?" I'm dressing,
Mm.
and I don't know. I'm in that unsafe space, which is that nervous. I'm out of place in my society.
Right.
My thoughts are numb. I think I'm working. I think I'm going to work. I
Mm-hmm.
think I'm thinking, but I'm not producing. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not. I don't have an office.
Right.
And then some people would recognize that about me, and I don't recognize it about me. And those of those I had interfaced with and had an impact on who truly loved me. And so they called
Mhm.
the authorities out of concern. And so they picked
Right.
me up
Right.
and brought me to the psych unit. I stayed there for a period of time, but I was heavily medicated. And that procedure happened from 2008 until 2020. In, out, in, out, in, out.
Yes.
In
Yes.
fact, just this week on Monday,
Mm-hmm.
since my recovery, I've been used as a resource person. So there is the group the, from World Health Organization, PAHO, Pan American Health Organization, as a representative, and
Mm-hmm.
they asked me to come in. I can make recommendations holistically, like let them
Yeah.
have it too, regarding follow up, regarding suggestions for prevention
Yes.
from the school. You
Mm-hmm.
know, having thoroughly trained Dominicans, not necessarily foreign
Mm-hmm.
Dominicans who live
Yes.
the Dominican lifestyle, who can people can identify
Right.
and be non-threatening, very trustworthy, has to be
Yes.
trustworthy, whereby you identify even from the school level, identify families where families exchange similar stories for cultural purposes, um, um, role playing from home, where the child becomes a parent and the parent becomes a child, so that you can understand how to identify attitude changing, behavioral changes. Your
That's right.
child or daughter is going through something, you know. Um,
That's right.
so I was able to lead them down with those things that are necessary for the early intervention, which didn't happen for me. But the
Yes.
first thing
So
people say is,
so
oh,
so what
Ifu,
so what
it,
you're saying
it,
is
it
what I
wickedy
just heard
wicked.
you say is that most recently, like was that this week or last weekend, you got to speak with representatives of the World Health
This week,
Organization yesterday. What you got to speak with people
yeah,
from PAHO and who
Monday.
on Monday about ways to
Mhm.
see, right, to identify,
First identified, yes,
right, and
early
support
intervention
with
and
early
methods.
intervention,
Mhm.
with training of parents, of teachers, so we can start to see when our children are behaving in ways where they might need mental health support. Yeah, because that might have helped you,
Yeah,
you
because
think, early on.
yeah, although I'm happy it didn't, so that now I can tell them, let's do it, because we're all called for a particular season and time to be effective because of our experiences. And
I
but
agree.
Dr. Triphi, what you recognizing also is important, because some of us go through certain things so that some of others don't have to. But
I
then it
agree.
is becoming frighteningly and increasingly, I will use the word frighteningly prevalent when
Yes.
you have. I just lost a friend. I just met his mom this week, and I didn't know it was his mom. And she's
Mm,
coming to me when I was in town with tears in her eyes, tears in her eyes. Very beautiful woman. And comes and hugs me and takes the wind out of my lungs and doesn't want to let me go by this guy named Bolo who sells food in town, in the middle of town. And he's telling me thank you. And I don't know for what. So she says, thank you. My son spoke highly about you. He's always talking about you. And I can tell she's speaking the truth because I'm saying, what do I know? I don't know her. And then she says, he, the last conversation she had with him when he committed suicide, 14 years old. 14. She said, hi.
14 years
And I
old.
was like, oh my God, like 14 years old. 14 years old. We met at a psych unit
Mm-hmm.
on two occasions. And I thought to
Mm-hmm.
myself, what is a child doing among men like me in a psych unit? I got
Mm-hmm.
really angry. It's a
Mm-hmm.
child.
Mm-hmm.
And Kai is like vulnerable. And I knew told his whole life that he's suffering from bullying.
Yes.
And, as I told you, I had this gift too of the intuition. I could to she spoke to me, I could like like I see a kaleidoscope of collective thoughts of situations
Mhm.
and experience he had, and I was correct. You
Mhm.
know, there was not much interaction between him or what he wanted to express himself to whoever it was. Brilliant young man, very handsome young man, but he was unable to express himself.
Mhm.
Ideally, maybe not having the atmosphere, the environment for self-expression and self-articulation of his personality.
Mhm.
I was able to speak with him, and he thought I was impacting him, but he was impacting me because I could
Yes.
live my life in him.
Yeah.
You
You know,
know,
a few things you
so
said here.
he was fun. I was
One second, Franklin. So I didn't want to miss the part where you said for many years you went in and out, back and forth, at home, into the hospital, out of the hospital, in and out. And that's the path of recovery for persistent mental illnesses. So serious ones like, say, bipolar disorder or schizoaffective disorder or schizophrenia. You need before sometimes the providers can get proper medication to help the brain stabilize. Sometimes you got to go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. But there's also a process in the patient where the patient has to really accept the diagnosis, to accept that this is what's happening and I do need medication support. Can you
Yeah,
relate? Yeah.
I listen to listening to you and listening to every word and every emotional energy in every letter, every syllable, every voice that you say. And I absorb that. Yeah, maybe I was the first initial, I like to call it incarceration, that I had was frightening, it was unfamiliar. So it may
Mm,
have taken all these years from 2008 to 2024.
mm,
However, no, I was released in 2025. However, the last episode that I had, I returned from the States where I had lived and worked for a little time, and I returned in 2019 to vote in elections to go back to the States. And that's to get they also to get my visa reinstated, a 10-year
enacted,
visa.
yes.
And
Mhm.
then, yes, activated. And then COVID hit.
Mm,
That triggered another episode, manic episode. Then I started living on the streets. Then I started taking drugs. And then I remember when I started well, I started smoking, and because I have interfaced with cocaine for 30 years. And then I can't tell you when it
mhm.
happened, what if I can say it's a Tuesday or Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. I just remember it happened, it started. And I think I started with crack first. That was more easily accessible
Mhm.
with the $5 or $10. It progressed, and I was satisfied in being there. But during COVID, there was one of the things was the, the uncertainty of food security. COVID, all shops are closed, no restaurant is open. You're living on the streets.
Mhm.
But your best friends are the crackheads, the,
Yeah.
the alcoholics. If
Yes.
a bar open somewhere quietly, you'd slip in there and get a beer. No
Mhm.
food. So that let us buy you sleep. I was sleeping in a marketplace, the street on the bayfront, old rundown shacks. It was
Mhm.
houses. And then that happened and mushroomed and snowballed into more and more and more and more satisfaction. So I found myself in a different area with different groups of people, and not my
Mm.
peers anymore, but my lower
Right.
peers. And no hidden. Now, for acceptance in this lower strata, I got it. Now I know that they were higher than me in prices lower strata, but I was using it. Um, uh, so if someone
So
is
for
when you saw me, you're
acceptance,
like, okay, they're happy to have me. Yes. So yeah. So I would have to pay. I would pay for their drugs. I would pay for theirs. So I wanted to be
Mhm.
accepted. So they had the pipes. I didn't know about pipes. I didn't know about those things. They would have to lend it to me, prepare it for me, get it for me. And then one day, as I began to become more involved in different different people, um, with different people, one of the guys, a few guys said to me, "What? You? You in trouble now?" I finished. I stopped. I stopped.
Mm.
Like they were like, no, maybe concerned or shocked, I should say,
Mhm.
that that they had a little apprehension and allowed me to go into questions. But them, now I know they were saying, no, no, not you. Us because we're depressed. Us because we're broke. Us because we feel dejected. Us because we think we're in the rim of society. But you know, society, man, what you doing here? You know? So I kind of didn't pick that up. I just wanted to be drowned in the oblivion of the sea of oblivion and be accepted. And all that is part of mental illness, based with depression, self hatred, self deprecation,
That's right.
you know, and then when I then this doctor Nadia Wallace made the best decision for me ever when I got because while I'm in the street, I'm talking to you now, but I got I got a workout, a physical workout. I got beaten, I got robbed, I
Mhm.
got hand my my hand broke 4 places.
Right. So a lot of
Lost
the
my
a lot of the
touches.
pain that comes from living that life, yeah, like being
Mm-hmm.
hurt,
Mm-hmm.
people taking advantage of you, yeah.
Physically, emotionally, spiritually, every way.
Hmm.
She made the decision that she was not going to release me, no matter how. Because that's the other thing. As I mentioned to the power representative, when you leave the hospital following treatment, it is has to be compulsory, mandatory. At least you
Yes.
get a call. Somebody come and see you non-judgmentally, just to check up.
Yes.
Share that when I was there, when you were almost ready to be released from 90 days of rehab, you'll be permitted to go with another recovering or recovered addict. She takes you out to either his home, her home, to a movie, non-judgmental. Just become a companion. And so for shared experience, shared comeback. It's supposed to be. It be a fundamental part of recovery. Just call me.
Hmm.
Just let me just call. Like, which is what I do without being part of the fabric of the societal recovery effort. I call my friends. That's why Kai's mom was able to identify me. That I would find Kai. I would say, "Hi, Kai. How you doing?" Meet them
Right.
in tongue and not judge them. I don't care how dirty
Social
you are.
support.
It's okay. I
Hmm.
can bathe. Hmm.
Social support.
You know, I can
Hmm.
bathe. He said, but yeah, they would say, "Mr. Moses, I'm dirty." And so, listen, I've been dirty just come, I can wash my clothes, but I want to sufficiently. I want to hug you, I want to kiss you, make you feel like it's okay. Let's hope because you're coming. You're coming out.
Hmm.
So guys walk up to me, one of the guys, and I won't call his full name. His name is VJ. He missed me in town last week, and I meet them all like five times, five of them one day. Some of them three in one area. But I know where we hang out. And he comes to me and says, I won't tell you something, but it's nice smoking less. I want to be like you. I'm going to be like you just now. I don't answer. I just let them speak. I let them
Hmm.
speak. Because
Hmm.
most people don't know. I've had that for like 10, 5, 10, 11 of those experiences. But it can be a little draining. If that's my calling, I will die doing it. But sometimes I just have to listen, shut up, because I don't understand. I
Hmm.
understand. I
Hmm.
understand. And I hear
Hmm.
more than they say. So when the guy says to me, Mr. Moses, I smoke less, I know what he means because he's the
Hmm.
guy who lives nowhere. We lived together once. We lived
Yes.
together in a little rundown shanty. And I know his habit is a hunt. He works nowhere except wash cars. He works
Hmm.
wash cars diligently, fervently. He makes money. He spends
Hmm.
every dime, 100, 150, $200 a day in doing an exercise which does not bring him any satisfaction. So my spirit tells me, let him not kill himself, let him exhaust himself like me until it becomes a repulsive thought and a repulsive desire. These days, I don't want to see alcohol, I don't want to see cigarettes, I don't tolerate marijuana, I don't tolerate cocaine. They upset me to the fact that mentally, well, I'm in love with the person. I'm in love with the person, but I identify what you're going through. I have
Mm-hmm.
been there. So I don't judge you. One of the things that was is that people would judge me. And I'm like, people who I help, people who when things were really was with me, I sent
Mm-hmm.
help you send your child to school. I bought it you buy books, I have you buy you one. You of all people saying, look at him, look at the fact that that hurts.
Yes,
Look, because I'm still a human being. We are still humans.
for
We
sure,
still have
for sure,
feelings. We're still the children of mothers, of the mother. We're still the children. We still have the fathers of
for
children.
sure.
And it's when your children and your parents turn their backs on you when you need them the most. But then I
Yes.
realized why they did it. Not because they hated you, they hated what you do. And for some folks, we're like, oh, here's a classic example. So as I come from the hospital, two, three of my former drug pushers, three, especially one I call KJ. KJ
Mm-hmm.
sees me walking in town. I'm well dressed. For me, I'm like the poster boy for them. So I'm walking well dressed, going to work. Total contrast to what I used to do before. I didn't care. I could have a t-shirt, a few pants. At a time when this is it, I go to the story with one guy who doesn't bathe because there's no running water in his childhood
Mm-hmm.
where I should stay. When he who doesn't bathe tell me I explain it going to him, I,
You know, you need to take
it's like
heed. You
no
know,
no
that's enough.
and, and for me it's like I, for me it's like okay he doesn't do that I'm gonna do that. It's not my priority. What you say? No. No, you're smoking there. You're not smoking. I'm giving you nothing.
That's
Go, no,
enough.
no,
That's
go,
enough. Yeah.
go, man.
Well,
And I
Franklin, let me
wasn't
ask
go,
you
but I
this.
would
Let me
go
ask you
home.
something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to interrupt you just for a sec. I want to ask you something because you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned the 14-year-old. Yeah. And a lot of our kids are really battling mental health issues, but they've connected with drugs, alcohol as a way to cope. What would you say to a young person in that space right now, battling their thoughts, battling their brain, really, battling their brain and battling perhaps the traumas of their childhood, who are locked in that space? What would you say to them?
In my research, Dr. Triphi, I found out that it can be hereditary, environmental, or acquired.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you may be triggered by because I think I have all three. I think
Mm.
because of my upbringing. Um, when I was seven, 7.5, 8, and 9, I was a
When you were seven and a
and
half, what happened?
7, 8, and 9. I was sexually abused by a neighbor.
Mm. Mm.
That was like you don't talk about that. It was like,
Yes, yes.
well,
Especially for our
you know,
boy children, especially for our men. Yes.
mm, yeah,
Mm.
it
Mm-hmm.
felt good, good for the simple reason that well, if she did it, maybe that's all part of the exercise of growing up. It was completely innocent. And so I locked that away because you don't say. And that was maybe because when I was quite younger, I remember asking with curiosity to my parents, where did children come from? I got the biggest slap ever in my life, but I saw Jupiter, Uranus, and Mercury in upside down order. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, so I'm not going on that road again. So when that happened to me, I'm going to talk about that again.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was didn't happen. Then you have remember that's the 60s, 60s and early 70s. You
Right. People didn't
know,
talk much about.
and then no, so far, then I had a few bad sexual experiences as a teenager. See, that's what sex is about. And I'm not going, I don't want again. So
Mm-hmm.
until the age of 20, 21, I've never had an
Mm-hmm.
sexual interfacing with anybody until the age of maybe I was 22, thereabout,
Mm-hmm.
when I went to live on my own. So that's one of the triggers. The other trigger is chemical imbalance that you either born with or you acquire from your parents.
Right.
My dad had
So,
severe depression, found out,
mm-hmm.
you know. Yeah, so I
Mm-hmm.
think I got that trait from my dad.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my my generation see being improved. I see. I see being exhibited in some of my house also. So with that guy, Kai, and many others who have met, young children. There's a young girl there who's 13 and she's still there at the psychiatrist, you know. Because when they send her out, she's either been abused by her dad and they still to come back. But society doing about it. You incarcerate him, it gets them more depressed. Um, because she's attached to him, because she had no mother. So
Mhm.
this sticky situation you find yourself in. And then, so I received, I think, that chemical imbalance from my parents,
Mhm.
plus the situation growing up
So you mentioned for
with the
you
environment,
chemical imbalance, traumatic experiences,
environment, experiences, and
environment,
environment. You don't talk about it.
right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's like
And then later
compounded.
on,
No,
as you're
for Kai,
working, trying to cope,
mhm,
yeah.
yeah. And for this young man, in talking with him, I discovered that when being overly sheltered, being um, um, maybe growing up in an affluent family
Hmm.
where and being overly sheltered or being heavily influenced by more estrogen and testosterone. So you have that soft attitude, and it comes out in your environment, in your with your platonic relationship either in school or socially, and other people pick up on that energy and say, well, as we were taught, big boys don't cry, toughen
Yeah.
up, man up. Yeah, but you have no formal how do I say you don't know the recipe for being a man. You don't know it. You're not familiar with it. So you can
You're
see
not
it in
familiar with
who you
what?
are. You're not familiar with the activation of testosterone. Man up. When they tell you man up, I mean man up. Well, if I'm showing
Hmm.
up. That's the best I will
Right.
be told to show up.
Hmm.
That's the best I know because my parents tell me don't argue, don't. My dad said, I never had any interaction with my dad really. In fact, the only thing I had was when my dad come, I would be happy for people to see me sitting down on my dad's lap, taking a bed like that's my daddy.
Hmm.
So I had to learn to be a man on my own, you know,
Hmm.
and so most of us, some of us in the Caribbean, because before dad was not trained how to be a man and he had to learn how to be a man through the boys, then he he thinks that the same thing he goes through is the same thing that we have to go through. Learn how to be a man through the boys who have not been men as yet.
Right. Right. So
And
that
how long has that been
that
going
trauma
on?
gets passed down. It's intergenerational
It
trauma.
gets passed on.
So we don't correct it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah. So I think the most the universe is raising up maybe people like me to go through this very terrible experience, to be aware, to create a blueprint and prepare a pathway, and 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 this is how we try to approach for the next generation because it's it sometimes. But I have faith. I have faith that maybe if not our children, grandchildren, because they they the veranda, the horizon for any impactful change seems to be dwindling with the advent of social media and everything else, where you have
Okay.
people challenging each other. Uh,
So if
However,
I
that
can
can also
restate some of
be
what you're saying with the advent of social media, we have more avenues, perhaps, for our young
for
people.
distraction,
Okay. Okay.
for distraction, for norms, for societal norms that are not necessarily beneficial, that are not safe. Because if
Mm-hmm.
you see them doing it, then we have our role models who have no scruples, who have no standards, who have no character, who are the blueprint for demonic activity. And without we telling our children that they become exposed to all of these it's okay to do attitudes. I'm happy to be a child of the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, but my
Mm-hmm.
daughter, who is 24, has never seen a phone. Um, I would be punished. I was punished for no reason because
Mm-hmm.
my parents would hit me for a simple little thing and ask them why. Remember that stuff you did last year, December on the 14th, when tried to tell you 10 times not to do it, but I build it up for you 2 days later. So, but in our
Yeah.
time, I've never really beat my kids. Never.
So
I was
a lot of
very kind to
events
my
that
kids.
we used to take for just child raising, they hurt us. Yeah, they hurt us, not knowing their
Yeah.
ways of training us
hmm
were very traumatic to a lot of us and caused a lot of pain.
Yeah. The only thing, yeah, and my consolation is that people have a spiritual awakening. There is nothing for me from a great antidote, the great pacifier, the great conclusion to everything is
Mm.
having a spiritual awakening with Jesus Christ. Because there's a
Yeah,
scripture that says all things. The word all, study it in
all.
means all encompassing, all things, all ups, all downs, all days, all nights, all weeks, all experiences, all male, all female, all letdowns, all setbacks, all difficulties, all verge of dissatisfaction, discouragement, often on the edge of suicide. All things work
Work
together,
together
together,
for good.
up, down, together for your good.
Yeah.
But caveat is for those who are called according to purpose, and everybody is called according to purpose.
Yes.
But you need to identify your purpose, and sometimes your greatness is born out
Out
of
of your
the
pain.
labyrinth of your pain. Your
For sure.
purpose is born out of your pain. But
For
and
sure.
so I'm happy nobody told me that. Now I'm beginning to
Because you might have
embrace every
interrupted your pain.
became happy.
You're
Boom,
happy nobody
boom,
told you that? Why?
boom. Because if God tells you, okay, you're going to become a great orator and a great encourager of this universe. See, so okay. But if he showed you how, then you say, nah.
You don't
You mean
want
I
to
have
do
to
that.
go through all that to become that?
Right.
Mm.
Right.
So God tell it's just a joke through a
Yeah.
dream. Your brothers and them are going to bow to you.
Yeah.
You're going to experience greatness. But he never told him that they were going to sell you in slavery. He never told him that he would go to prison for
For
not
sure.
touching a man's wife, for being honest and open. He never told him that he would help some people even in prison and they won't would forget him. He never
Mm.
told him that he would become a nothing so that he could be us. And then in one day, Sandra said, everybody listening, one day, in 1 hour, God is able to do for you what took you decades to achieve, even to accomplish it. 1 hour.
Absolutely.
In
Absolutely.
1 hour. I'm in a space I am in there today, and that is my
Absolutely.
1 hour where I don't, I don't, I'm not keeping away from the addictive personality that I have. I embrace it, but
Hmm.
I, as the Siddhartha says, I gracefully surrender the thing,
Yes.
and
Yes.
I have more self. I have to pray to God for self control, for self
Hmm.
control. And if you pray and you make yourself aware of my tendencies,
Hmm.
I know I have a very addictive personality.
Hmm.
If I'm doing something, I'm
You're
doing it
going
all
to,
out. I'm going all out.
yeah. Yeah.
Not a hypocrite
Hmm.
anymore.
It's awareness.
Yeah.
So you're saying I'm being radically honest,
It's
but still accepting of myself as I am.
radically honest.
Yes.
If I don't want, oh yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Because I
Well,
will shut.
go ahead.
I will go. I'll be there, but I'm not there because I'm
Yeah.
preserving my
Franklin,
mental
I
energy.
feel like we could talk for the rest of the night.
Preserving my mental energy
I feel like we
because I
could talk
don't
for the rest of the
want
night.
to go back that place again. It's a very scary place. It's a very
Yeah.
scary place. So I safeguard that. I say I safeguard. I guard it with like Fort Knox. See, there's a place called there, and I'm going to help people to get to that. No, but you're in charge. You're in charge. I learned to surrender and submit. Mm.
Yeah, I realize
Yeah,
we have to
I
be
can.
careful too.
You guide. You lead me where you want me to go. Because I learned to
I'll lead
surrender to
you.
the moment.
Well, I
Yes,
tell you what, I
to
feel like we could talk for
to
the
the
rest of the
framework
night.
within which we're working. But there's a place called there. Whatever there, and whoever there, or whichever there is, There's a place that you have to,
Hmm.
and
Well,
it's not just that.
I want to close tonight's session,
That's right.
Franklin.
And I not try.
I want to close tonight's session.
Use with people only those who are willing to get to there. And hey, there, I didn't hear that.
I know we're having a little bit of a delay.
I didn't hear what you said. Yeah, I heard you.
You heard me? I said, I want to hear what you're
Definitely.
saying. I want to hear your
I
closing
don't
thoughts.
hear you. I don't hear you though. I didn't hear because I was just going to end with something. Okay, right. Okay.
Yes, I want to hear your closing thoughts. Yeah, I think Franklin will come back in. I want to hear his closing thoughts. He said so much tonight, y'all, that I could sit with him for 4 hours. Uh, and what he's saying is too important to ignore. What he's saying is too important to ignore because mental health is brain health. What he's talking about is brain health. What he's talking about is real life. What he's talking about is all the things that happen to us and we try to cope, we try to live with it, we try to deal with it. And a diagnosis like bipolar disorder, yeah, yeah, Amma, he's giving such great insight into the individual's brain as you're trying to live with life, as you're hearing things like he says, I grew up in the home, but I didn't know really who my parents were. So a child comes upon that information. That alone is enough to set you on a path of a lot of pain because a child is very confused with information like that. A child might make decisions about themselves, like, who am I? Well, who do I belong to? Yeah, and they might feel betrayed. They might feel like, well, I don't know who to trust, and that can set a person on a path of a lot of pain and a lot of having to rewire their brain, rework their understanding of life, deal with the pain of it. And then he talks about abuse experiences, right? That alone in and of itself is enough again to set you on that kind of path. And you get introduced to substances, to things that can help your brain feel different, feel better when your brain is racing 100 miles an hour. You don't know what to do with it. But for many people, alcohol helps to calm some of that chatter. When people go down into the hole, cocaine helps them come up. Yeah. So it's this before many people understand what's happening with them, before they're really forced to understand it, because when you're living like that, it hurts you and it hurts many people around you. It hurts your job, it hurts your money. We can stay for a long time struggling in that space of trying to just figure things out. And I am so impressed and happy that I hope he comes back in. I'm so happy that he has said yes to embracing the pain, but yes to embracing his story, because like he says, all things, it wasn't just the pain, right? It wasn't just him dressing in the middle of summer with clothes, which is a clear sign if you're in the field that, well, something is going on, right? So your brain is telling you something about reality, but that's not what the reality is for most people around you, because in the summertime most people are wearing clothes to cool off. Yeah. But to see him come to a place where he can see that and He accepts it. That's where it's at. Surrender, 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 surrender. Where you accept it and you realize. I read a post. I read a post of his on Father's Day where he said they told him that taking medication would have side effects, but he didn't realize one of the side effects was he'd be able to get up on Father's Day and feel so good about himself, right? Um, to not manage our mental health is to say, well, I have a something is wrong with my liver and I'm going to ignore it. Okay, to have experienced deeply painful, traumatic events in your life, especially during childhood, and to ignore it as an adult is to pretend I have a heart problem, but I'm not going to go to the doctor, or I'm not going to change how I'm eating. See, it's going to cause a lot of harm, it's going to cause a lot of pain. And I'm so, again, very happy to watch him turn mess into a message, because that's what trauma is about. That's what life is about, where we transcend trauma, where we don't always get like the pressure doesn't just keep burying you, where your head pokes out and we start looking for the purpose of it. Like, what's the point of all of this? Why am I here? Why am I going through all of this? Well, I'm going through all of this so that in 2025, all things working together for my good, I can sit with PAHO and with World Health Organization. I can sit on podcasts. I can sit on radio stations. And I can be a voice for men. I can be a voice for boys. I can be a voice for my people, my community, to help people see inside of me, this powerful, bigger than life personality, person, human being, to see, to get a sense of what it really feels like. So that perhaps next time when we see one of our kids on the road, homeless because they're addicted, but really they're addicted because they're trying to manage the racing thoughts in their head, or the psychosis in their head, or the trauma from the sexual assault from their father, right? Maybe we will stop, like he's saying, and say, come with me. Maybe we will stop and we will say, hey, how are you doing today? As opposed to, get out of here, you're useless. As opposed to us, family members, saying, you're on your own, you no longer look like us, you're not a part of us anymore. Maybe we try to understand what's happening. Maybe we try to understand what's happening. And we are going to need more men in particular, like Franklyn, to speak. And God has blessed him with such a voice and such an ability to use words. Yeah. That, again, I'm so very proud of this man for using his voice in that way, like Amma saying, in that way. Yeah. To really call our attention. Call our attention. Don't ignore it. Like, stop pretending I'm not here. Stop pretending what you see is not what you're seeing, right? Stop pretending as if you can overlook me. Stop acting as if I'm not here. I'm here. You can call me all the names you want so that you feel like as if you're different than me, like as if you're separate from me. But I am one of you. Yeah. And I'm going to keep speaking so you don't forget it. So it's like Amma says. Amma says she can literally picture him through the storytelling. He's an excellent orator. And she's always looked up to him as such a jovial person. It was just something to hear him talk about the fact that, yes, I'm jovial, but behind the smiles and the laughter, I'm walking home feeling ashamed of myself, like I didn't do a good enough job, like who's going to be there for me? I'm alone, you know? And Amma, you say you met him as a child going to DBS to visit your auntie, and him popping in at Bath Estate for his fruitcake. She didn't know him personally, was very shocked to hear of his trials. I'm happy to see him share his story. I'm really like just most proud that he is using his words like in a really clear, honest, thoughtful, meaningful way with the intention of helping other people and helping himself. Yeah, and helping himself. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna share again his video, his comedy, yeah, and remind you of the man who's able to generate so many smiles for us.
Yo, 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 this is your boy Franklyn Peter Moses, all the way from the Commonwealth of Dominica. For over 30 years, I've been entertaining thousands of people.
So that you have to understand that my friend now, his wife reminded him, all you women, remember you to remind your boyfriend. John, don't forget my birthday is next Thursday, and buy me a gift, So she reminding him, John, don't forget to buy me a gift. He said, honey, what you want? He said, I want a nice gift, honey, what you want? But there's something that will last, honey, where you want it. In a quiet neighborhood. Like what? Like a piece of land. So the next day he got to buy a nice piece of land for a plot in the cemetery. Quiet neighborhood! Nobody can come down!
Okay, so I'll be coming to a place, a theater, an auditorium near you very soon, very shortly. You're not paying to laugh. No, no, no. You're saving yourself of stress.
Women, men like to see with their eyes somebody looking nice. Pow! 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 Poof, poof. We love that. Women, men, this one is for you. Women like to hear nice things. Women like to hear soft things like sponge. Marshmallow. Soft things.
Yo, 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 I'm back. We're still here celebrating. In fact, we're about to celebrate a grand show, spectacular, at some auditorium very close to you. I'm inviting you to bring your friends, to tell all your friends, and wherever they are from all four corners of the universe, to ensure that they be part of this grand show.
They're walking down the road together. They go into the shop. Suddenly, he's embarrassed to walk with her in town. So she in front, he behind. Tears are going. He looked in the corner and he saw a lady of the night. We call them 62. 62. So he said 62. And he sent his wife into the supermarket, she's going to shop. And he goes to her.
What's that? Now you see me? No, you don't.
And he began to negotiate because the man haven't had a good and a decent workout and he hasn't changed his oil in a long time. So he got to the 62 and he asked him the 62, how much is it for and she said,
Yeah. I did the walk up. You did the walk up.
so he said, no, he asked about money, how much is it for You understand? He said, he don't have, she said $40. He said, he don't have all that.
You're still there?
Finally, he said, how much is it for him to just? She said, $10. He said, he don't have all that. So she asked him, my dear friend, how much you have? He said, he only have $3. She tell him, so go do your business. You cannot get nothing good for $3. So go and do your business. So he put his tail between the leg and he go back and meet the wife. And as soon as he met the wife was coming out and he go to the store. Wife was coming out. So he picked up the wife bag and he had 4 bags in his hand. She wife chewing some bubble gum. She in front, he behind carrying those heavy bags. And she wife going clacks, clacks, and all her colors falling down on her robe. And as they're walking down the road, he looked, the 62, oh God. You see the 62? He do like he don't see the 62. The 62 see him and call him and say, hey! Hey, how you doing? Yeah, I'm ahead. He said, you remember me? He said, yes, the wife asked, who's that? He said, there's a friend he met there. And he could call him, yeah, yes, it's me, you remember me? He said, yes. So that's who you have there, that's your wife? He said, remember when I tell you? I get nothing good for $3.
Okay, then. Thanks for joining me. I'm Franklyn Moses, and you've been a good audience, so we'll see you.
Yo, Franklyn, Mr. Moses, I want to say I want to say thank you so much. I could listen to him all night. I could listen to him all night. But for those of you who joined in, again, I'm so grateful. Thank you all for listening. This month is June, which is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. And I know that our men are trained to be very stoic, meaning to keep the smiles out front and their deep sadness inside, their frustration inside, their confusion inside. But the month of June is meant to remind you that you're human beings first before you are Caribbean men. To remind you that you have feelings too. Yeah. And that your feelings deserve to be honored and cherished too. Yeah. And that it's okay to ask for what you need from the people around you. And that it's okay to tell us, those around you, that you're having a hard time so that we can support you better. So that we can support you better. And to go one step further and to encourage you. Yes, I know we love our bush tea. I love my bush tea. But there are some brain health related challenges that need other medication support, and to be willing to investigate that, to be willing to try that, even if you are drinking your bush tea as well. Yeah. Um, Especially if you find that what you're doing is not really working to help whatever it is you're feeling feel better. Okay. So I hope I talk to you all soon. Nous allons parler une autre fois. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Ladies, let's get busy and do our work with the men around us. Okay. Our boys, our men. Let's not ignore what we're seeing. Let's not downplay it. Yeah, they're men and they're strong, but they're men. They're human beings before they're men. Okay, they're human beings before they're boys. So let's, we're good about that. We're like FBI. We can investigate issues. We know when something is off. So let's act on it. Right? Okay. Happy Sunday. Nous parlons l'autre fois. Peace.